All right, here we go. Potentially, once we get everything taken care of and out of the way, we're gonna finalize this YouTube. Thank you. There we go. Switch that over to live. Make sure both of these are synced up. Yes. Get Epic Pen up and running. Do we feel like loading Windows? No, we don't feel like it. But if I type it in, will you load it then? No. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Man, who's Microsoft again? Bill Gates. Thanks, Billy. That was incredible software right there. And no, before anyone starts that Mac supremacy BS, I'm not switching to Mac because despite what you tell me, I'd get the same performance with way less compatibility with everything else, and also I'd pay twice the price for it. So no, don't even start. Okay, Google Earth. Let's see. You're not going to lag me out this time? Excellent. Now, for anybody who's wondering why I had that old Windows 1990s Windows pinball game in the thumbnail. That is because if I actually do go long enough in this, if there are no super chats that reduce the length of my social suffering and I run through everything we're going to speak on normally, then I'm potentially going to just start playing that game and saying and or speaking about random things while doing so because I did find it. I found a site that has it to play and that is not surrounded on all sides by naked bimbo ads, as the first few sites were. All right, we got Google Earth up and running. Go over to Twitter. That's ready. All right, everything's up. You can see or you cannot see. Which one? If you're saying you cannot see it, I don't know what issue you're encountering because it says it's visible via my window. So we're going to wait a few seconds for more people to show up. For anybody who's unaware or doesn't know how to read, this is the theoretically 500th video. Technically, it isn't because uh, go to the actual channel so you guys can see. Technically, it's not because, as you guys know, a lot of the videos I do are monthly, like data updates. And so over the years, I have deleted like quite a few dozen of them for the sake of avoiding channel clutter, so that it's not an infinite scroll of monthly data updates and you actually do see like other bigger stuff like, I don't know, the Venezuela situation and everything, the germanium supply crisis, all that stuff. So it's technically not the 500th video. Uh, Technically, it's going to be $4.99 because on paper at least, because I failed to finish the monthly electricity demand levels update in time. So technically, on paper, it's going to be $4.99. In reality, this is probably like 550 or 560. But just just ignore that part. So this is the not really 500th video, and so 5 for 500. I'll go for 5 hours, I guess. Uh, Unless any super chats happen, in which case, for every $1, my suffering will be reduced by 5 minutes. And yes, I did 5 minutes as a big amount because I don't expect to get that much. So I'm being self-merciful in that regard. And of course, I'm suddenly became super congested before the stream started, as is expected. So while we wait for more people to arrive, last thing I'll do before starting like official stuff is, again, for anybody who is new or not really familiar, in the description of basically every video, I don't only do YouTube stuff, I also do a lot of other things that you guys have access to for free because I don't do paywalls. Technically, there's optional pay buttons, but there is no paywall and never will be. Unlike basically every website in existence that you would otherwise go to get stuff from now, like if you try to go beyond 5 or 10 years on tradingeconomics.com is a good one. They have so much different data, prices, uh, oil production, different economic numbers, but I think they still let you go back 10. They let you go back 10 on whatever graph, whether it's prices, GDP, population, what have you. If you try to go past 10, though, paywall. But not here. We do not do paywalls. So, under any video in the last year and a half now, I think, you'll see a free access drive link that takes you to this Google Drive. We have all these different folders with all kinds of graphs that I maintain and allow access to for free. Obviously, you have the oil ones, the newest addition to which are the ones you saw in that EV impacts video, where you have the comparison of gasoline demand, for example, versus the additional black portion is how high it would have been if EVs did not exist, showing you in this case that EVs have not really actually displaced that much. Then you have, a comparison of EV displacement against total global oil demand. And then you have, in this case, the display of how much oil or how much gasoline demand has been displaced by the upsurge in fuel efficiency over the last 25 years, which has had a much larger impact than EVs had. In the absence of fuel efficiency improvements, gasoline demand would otherwise be about 7 or 8 million barrels per day higher than it currently is. But apart from those ones, you also have things like the export ratio graphs. You can see each country's production versus their domestic consumption underneath and see like their different ratios narrowing or their, in say Australia's case, their import dependency growing and burgeoning. See here, Brazil's ratio 10 years ago in the mid 2010s finally crossed over into net exporting. So you got all those. And of course, you got oil demand graphs, production graphs, US oil production by state. And then you have similar stuff for every other subject, like natural gas. And you have minerals and mining, changes in the use of each mineral over time. So there's a whole bunch of stuff there that you can go to at any time. That's all free to access. Now, theoretically, enough people should be here to. Ooh, dang, that was fast. I was not expecting that. Thank you. And CAD, I'm assuming. I'm used to it being CAD. I don't know if C. Is it just CA now? Hold on. Okay. I guess it's been shortened from CAD to CA. I guess CAD was too much effort for people. That converts to. All right, I'll be generous to people who want me to stream longer, I guess, and I'll take the converted US value. So 750, 7.5 times 5 is 37.5 minutes. So okay, I theoretically only have to go until 4 hours and 23 minutes now. All right, thank you, random cat sunglasses person. Anyways, all right, that's it for that. Enough people are here to justify actually starting, and I'll reiterate the stuff for anyone who's not who has shown up recently since the first time I said stuff. Blah blah blah. You can scroll back if you want to. 500th video, not really, but 5 hours for 500. Except any $1 in super chats reduces my suffering by 5 minutes. So now technically only a 4 hour and 23 minute stream. But anyways, let's get started on all the official stuff that's going on. We're right here, so we'll start with Kazakhstan. So Kazakhstan, and I regret I don't have a natural gas production graph for them yet. I am working on it, I promise. But Kazakhstan's natural gas was always really low, and recently they'd gotten it up to about 2 billion cubic feet per day. They, similar to the Middle Eastern countries down there in the Persian Gulf, they'd just been flaring most of their natural gas all this time, just burning it at the wellhead. But recently, they finally installed capturing equipment and have actually been producing some of that gas. And they were producing about 2 billion cubic feet. Two, uh, I'm just going to put 2 BCF, 2 billion cubic feet per day, up until a few months ago, where they finished massive installations at their big fields, both offshore and onshore. And they've jumped up to a bit under 6 billion cubic feet per day. So they went up to 2 first because that's how much they're domestically using. And now they have jumped up to 6, and that is being exported to China. You guessed it. Part of the reason they only did this recently is because they were waiting until they in China finished construction of pipelines. So they're now exporting 4 billion cubic feet per day to China. And this would have factored in most definitely into China's waiting on its timing for invading Taiwan, apart from needing to make sure it's militarily ready to do so. But before this, remember, China was needing to meet its natural gas needs of between 4 and 5 LNG tankers every single day. As before that started a few months ago, we had China at 42 or 43 billion cubic feet per day for their domestic consumption, which is going to keep growing until the Taiwan invasion, because that's then going to cause a whole economic mess that's going to make all their consumption contract. But before that supply from Kazakhstan, China was up to, and they're growing pretty linearly for the moment, 24 billion cubic feet per day of domestic production, leaving that, 18 or 19 billion cubic foot per day gap, some of which is filled by pipeline imports coming down from Russia, but that's only about 4 billion cubic feet per day. So that puts total supply at 28, which leaves a 14 or 15 billion cubic foot per day gap, which was being filled by 4 or 5 LNG tankers per day. Now that they have an extra 4 billion cubic feet per day coming from Kazakhstan, that puts their total land supply up to 32 billion cubic feet per day out of 42 or 43. So that brings their supply gap down to 10 or 11. So they can cover that if they import bigger ones. They can cover that with 2 or 3 LNG tankers per day instead of 4 or 5. So that's narrowing their problems, and thus, some of that would come in on LNG tankers that would be blocked a lot by the shutdown of seas around Taiwan and even throughout the South China Sea and portions of the East China Sea, because as I've said before, shipping companies themselves will make that decision. They're just going to refuse to go anywhere near this where there's live shots being fired. So China's only really going to have its northernmost ports open and maybe some of its smaller ones in Guangxi. So they'd be getting cut off from a lot of stuff, and stuff coming out of China would be bottlenecked. But here the concern is their LNG supply, which they, could account for some of that disruption not being really a disruption because, they know economically they're going to have a contraction when they start this anyways. So they would probably drop from needing 2 or 3 down to only needing 1, maybe 2 LNG tankers a day. So it wouldn't be that huge of a disruption. So now looking at things, this was probably another element they were waiting for, especially since the whole second pipeline from Russia that would be another 4 billion cubic feet per day, has been constantly delayed, delay after delay after delay, especially as Russian industry is starting to crumble, as it's being torn apart by, its own misadventure over there in Ukraine. And so much of it is constantly being directed to retooling itself to produce new weird Mad Max weaponry to be used in Ukraine. So the pipeline was supposed to initially get started in 2024, 2025. Then last year it got pushed off to 2027, but even that is still up in the air, and it's looking more like they're probably going to admit that it's not going to get started until 2028 in terms of its construction, mind you. So it would still take a few years to complete it, even if they did a rush job on it. So China knows that Russia is a dead asset at this point. So they turned to Kazakhstan, both for additional coal and now for additional natural gas. All right, so that's the Kazakhstan development. What else did we have? Oh, yeah, check chat. Anything else from chat? Shouldn't give your materials away for free. Too bad. I do what I want. Ah, I also pick up garbage multiple hours almost every day for free. Although maybe one of my neighbors is running for the city council, so maybe I'm gonna see if she can like hook me up with actually getting paid by the city for doing that. Since it's not like they have anybody doing that. They have the trash guys who, take the trash bins, empty them into the garbage truck, whole portions of that trash at the different trash stops at each house end up falling onto the road, and the trash dudes just kind of stare at it and then shrug and leave it there. And the, there's the guys who run around on the golf carts, towing the trailer behind them that empty and change the trash bags at the different public trash bins outside of shops and on the walkways and stuff. But they don't go around like picking up the trash on the side that's on the sidewalks itself, like just plastic bottles laying there. And the stuff that is on the side of the road in like grass, they don't even do that. They just have the lawnmower guys just literally run it over with the lawnmower and figure it gets chopped up into enough pieces so they can just ignore it after that. So no, there is someone who goes around and picks up that trash. His name is me, and he does not get paid for that. Now, I would continue doing that regardless. I would like to get paid for it, but it doesn't matter. It's the only difference is that if I was getting paid a minimum of $17 an hour at least, because that's what I got at my old job, for sitting around waiting for security issues to potentially happen, which almost never happened. So I was essentially not required to do work at my old job and got $17 an hour for that. So if I am going to get paid to actually do work all day, it better be $17 an hour minimum. So if I was actually getting paid to do that, I would do that like, 6 to 8 hours a day. But if I'm doing it for free, like I am now and have been for years, then I'm only going to do it for like 1 or 2 hours a day, 2 or 3 days a week. If I'm getting paid, then by all means, I will gladly pick up all of that garbage all day, every day, maybe even 6 days a week. Who knows? It would depend. Probably not because I do want time to write, which I'll actually be talking about soon. If we run out of stuff before my reset time limit goes out. All right. So everyone's aware of, actually, I need to zoom back out for this first. So everybody's aware of the rare earths supply issue. You got China, who, for the physically mined supply coming out of the ground, both from the clays in the south and from the black sands in the north, China once was responsible 10 plus years ago for 90% of the global physical supply. Now That is down closer to only 60% or less. I think it's actually like 57 or something like that at the moment. But it is about to drop lower as, thankfully, we got the news that further mining expansions at the rare earth metal site, everyone's going to think this means Resident Evil, at the rare earth metal site in central Australia is going forward and will actually be starting very soon, probably in less than a year, I think. And that will uh, that deposit there is actually larger than initially expected, so that will be enough to take the China share down to under 50%. Plus, there are additional expansions going on in Thailand and some bits in Malaysia and Vietnam that share some of the same clay distribution ions with the rare earth ionic clay distributions with China. So some of those will add a few more percentage points drops. And although they might start doing their own lever pulls of constraints to get concessions on stuff, still better than it coming from China. Some has been found in the interior of Turkey as well. That will take a few years to start up, but that is yet another supply angle. So we have enough stuff lined up to, if you exclude any disruptions or recalculations from all the Taiwan related blowback happening once that starts, before the decade is over, the share of supply from China will be down to under 40%. So that is also something that is ongoing. Check here. Legends. Was that in? No, that's not a response. You had already said that. How long have I been on for? 22 minutes. We have a long time to go. Okay. Who do we got? 10, 9. Looks like that's where we're going to plateau. Uh, for anybody, for anybody who showed up new, this is the 500th video. It's not really, not technically, but I already went through that. 5-hour stream for the 500th video. Except every dollar of super chats, if there are any more, reduces my suffering by 5 minutes. Already had 10 Canadian dollars from Sunglasses Cat Dude. So that's reduced the stream down to 4 hours and 23 minutes, which still have 4 hours to go through. Okay, let's go in here. So, everybody probably aware by now there was this huge, I'll try the best I can. There's this huge hurricane. It's going to look more like a buzzsaw, but hurricanes look like buzzsaws anyways. There was this huge mega hurricane called Melissa, do an M for Melissa. Melissa became the hide multiple different ways for the strongest Atlantic tropical cyclone ever in existence. Melissa reached wind speeds of 185 miles per hour, which have only ever been reached 2 other times by one storm back in the 2010s. I don't remember which one, but it was one that cut across the Yucatan Peninsula. And there was another one back in the 80s that also coincidentally or not coincidentally swiped across the Yucatan Peninsula. So there were only 2 other storms that ever did that. Melissa became number 3. And then also in terms of its low pressure, as normal atmospheric pressure is roughly, I think, 1,007 millibars. In terms of low pressure, Melissa also entered the top 3 spot. It's not tied. It's officially in the number 3 spot. Or it's believed to be number 3 because we're not entirely sure of the precision of the measurements that were taken in 1935 on something that was called the Labor Day hurricane. But Melissa got down to, I believe, at its lowest point, 902. And the only 2 stronger than that in the Atlantic Okay, remember, other basins exist, and Pacific typhoons can get stronger than hurricanes on average. But the only other two that got like as low in terms of pressure as Melissa, or lower rather, were Hurricane Wilma in 2005, the worst hurricane season ever, which got down to, I think, only it got down to 872. And then I think the 1935 Labor Day hurricane was, we're not sure because the instrumentation was still early 20th century, so it was considered crude by modern standards. So we don't know if the exact number is correct, but it was something like 892. So it may have been a bit lower or may have been a bit higher, but not by like dozens of millibars or anything. It would have been like probably maybe two or three higher or lower because of imprecision, but it was still definitely below 900. So that became one of the strongest storms ever, and it swiped through Jamaica and Cuba and through the Bahamas, and uh, in a legitimate glory to God moment, it did not have the impact that was expected. In regards to power outages, yes, roughly three-quarters of the island of Jamaica had its power knocked out, but everyone was legitimately expecting this to do Katrina numbers or greater. We were all expecting it to kill thousands of people, and it did not even make any attempt to approach those numbers, apparently. There might be more people revealed dead later, but like initial numbers from Jamaica are looking like really didn't actually like bring in a massive death toll. It ruined a lot of structures. It knocked down the power lines all over the island, but it did not come close anywhere near like the expected fatality levels, which for a storm that was that powerful, that's really, unusual to actually see that. Again, the realistic expectation, not exactly baseless, because we've seen storms this powerful before, was that it was at least probably going to kill hundreds of people in Jamaica, if not a few thousand, and it did not meet that quota, so to speak. In fact, most of the deaths that have actually occurred in Haiti, and they were from the rain, from the like very outer edges of the hurricane, not really like hurricane strength stuff. It was just like outer rain, and the only reason it actually ended up killing people is because Haiti is so deforested and bare that any amount of rain effectively causes landslides and mudslides, which buries people. Now, if the storm, for example, had taken a direct hit through Haiti, probably there would be no way out of there being tens of thousands of people dead because of those specific circumstances. But even going through Jamaica, it still should have killed hundreds or thousands of people, but it failed to do so. So that is one bit of like good news in a modern sea of news that's on the opposite end of the spectrum. Now, in other matters related to that, that hurricane sat there for a while, and its presence there kind of hindered or delayed the ongoing buildup of U.S. forces in the Caribbean. As over the past few months, the U.S. has gradually piled up warships in the Caribbean offshore of and around Venezuela, moved combat jets and other assets to Puerto Rico and to the islands offshore of and around it, as there have apparently been somewhere near 200 military flights going down there over the past couple months. That and no one's been able to. Well, it hasn't been disclosed for one, but also it's not in a setup where the people who live on the islands and see the C-17s, Globemasters coming down onto the airstrips. They're not in a terrain arrangement where they can actually like get a glimpse at what's being offloaded from the C-17s. So we have no actual idea of what has been brought in there or how many number of personnel. But also now, coming over from the Middle East and Mediterranean on its way is the USS Gerald Ford, a super carrier with roughly 70 to 80 combat aircraft on it, a mixture of F-18s and F-35s, along with its accompaniment of, I believe, four destroyers, I think one Ticonderoga missile cruiser, and two submarines that are their presence is never actually disclosed, but they're there. That's part of how the group operates. So that is on its way also. So if anyone was really, after all the other buildup, if anyone was really, really still thinking somehow, make sure I put enough question marks for that. If anyone was really still thinking somehow that Venezuela isn't going to happen, it's time to look your IQ in the mirror. It's happening. All right, let me drink some water. Ah, okay. Chat. Uh, the nuke test announcement. Is any? All right, let me hold on. Sync. Yes, everything's the same. Okay. The nuke test announcement is just like blowhard flexing stuff. We actually people don't seem to understand how nuke tests work, including Trump, obviously. But we actually still have been testing nukes. 1992 was the last time we did a actual like nuclear detonation test. However, you don't need to do those to actually test the nukes. We've been testing them since then every once in a while, and you can do it in a certain way in which you don't go to full criticality or super criticality, and you get like a flash that tells you that it would have worked if you had properly set it up, or if the that tells you that the isotopes are still there, and if you had set the pit arrangement properly, then it would have detonated, and then you just hustle that now radioactive sphere into Yucca Mountain with all the other nuclear waste. That's how everyone does nuclear tests now, except North Korea, because Rocket Man likes to have fun over there. But we have been testing nukes since then. We just do subcritical tests, like literally everybody else. So this was another case of a empty air nothing statement. The purpose of it is so that he can get people cheering. He can get like hardline yeehaw hoorah America people clapping and applauding for him on Twitter and what's his stupid thing? Truth Social. It's a I'm a manly man. Look at the size of my dick kind of post. uh, just like uh, just like how he also announced that like we're gonna go back to using battleships, which is also not happening. But anyone who's not aware, and this has been repeatedly confirmed, even I started to doubt my presumptions until they started getting confirmed. Since post Vietnam, with a internal rearrangement, the like long term and even short term U.S. like larger strategic military decisions are made by the US military. They're not actually made by Congress or the president because that has not really gone over well. After direct political the direct political string pulling to do specific things at like specific times in Vietnam to try to like make an election look better or whatever that would end up resulting constantly in thousands of deaths and like cities burning. We That was kind of the last straw for still going with that. And this can be kind of seen in the fact that despite Trump's whole initial like anti-Ukraine thing, I laid out the foundation that if, if it really is the military making strategic military decisions, then he's going to talk all that talk, but we're still going to keep sending stuff, whether directly or whether this, you know, backhanded half lie of, well, we're just selling it now and the EU is technically buying it and then they're giving it to Ukraine. But that is what happened, and we have not actually stopped. So whether he was lying from the get go, or whether I don't know whether he like got sat down by some actual committee and was like told, no, this is one of those parts where you're kind of just a figurehead. We're going to keep doing this. I don't know how the specifics actually worked, but like we're not actually stopping because that's not in our strategic interest. The military blackout and degradation of Russia as a remnant of a former power is in the U.S. strategic interest militarily. So that is what the U.S. military is going to continue doing, regardless of who's in office or what they say on Twitter. But again, regarding the nuke thing, yeah, that's a give me applause, I need attention on social media thing. Just like this random nonsense claim he made, I can't do the what is it? The lull. Oops, no, sorry. Lull. It's on Twitch. It's an emote. It's lull n or whatever. Uh, or the whatever that other meme face is. Like he made some other ridiculous claim about South Korea yesterday or the day before that like South Korea has agreed to just give the US $600 billion, like some Dr. Evil villain or some Austin Powers nonsense. That's that is not something that happened. Uh, the South Korean government agreed to tell South Korean companies to prioritize US investment and to remove all tariffs against US goods entering South Korea that would effectively result in tens of billions of dollars of, economic savings. But none of this adds up to the claimed numbers, and uh, none of this is a like literal cash payment handover thing like it was hatcheted up to be. So if you see something ridiculous and it seems like it's lies, it's probably because it's a bunch of lies. Everything regarding like Trump specifically, uh, he actually probably doesn't even he actually probably doesn't even care or mind that like strategic military decisions are being made by the military itself, he's and that he's not really as in control of things as he would like to be. His thing is attention. You have to remember that when you're dealing with any particular leader, remember what their psychological like motivation is. Trump likes attention. So he doesn't really actually care about everything else to like that big of an extent. As long as he stays the center of attention and gets adoration from the like super mega MAGA fan base people. So he will say like literally anything and claim literally anything. Like it hasn't even been a year yet. It's only been half a year since he even first enacted the tariffs, and he's already made a claim that like it's earned, not even saved, it's earned somehow the U.S. trillions and trillions of dollars, very bigly. That's his usual quote. Very bigly earned the U.S. trillions upon trillions of dollars. So it's a case of he's just saying stuff because he knows it'll get attention, and it works. It obviously does get him attention, and attention is what he cares about the most. All right, hurricane, Venezuela, rare earths, Kazakhstan, Australia. Who else had what that we needed to go through? Was there? Oh yeah, the Congo. So we have brilliance going on in the Congo. Excuse me, get out of my face. We got some brilliance going on in the Congo. And I'll check chat in a second. Just let me go down here. So cobalt prices are beginning to spike upwards yet again. First spike was at the initial announcement. Now that the consequences are being revealed, they're spiking up even further, up towards $50 per kilo. They're probably going to go even higher as they don't update daily. You can see here they pause for a few days at a time. So next week, you're probably going to see another big jump. And that is because, actually, let me check chat like I said I was going to do. All right. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, subcritical testing. That's what I was talking about. No new things thus far. Anybody who showed up since I said this last time, blah blah blah. This is the 500th video, so we're doing a 5-hour stream for the 500th video. Except any $1 through super chats, if any more happen, reduces my suffering by 5 minutes. We got $7.51 via $10 Canadians. That's reduced the overall length of the stream to 4 hours and 23 minutes, which we still got 3 hours and 40 something minutes to go through, as of the moment at least. So the Congo, source of still roughly 70% of the world's cobalt, down from 85% 10 years ago, thankfully. Uh, you have Australia to thank for that. Australia has cranked up their output. But most of the world's cobalt is coming from down here in southeastern Congo. And the Congolese government has decided, on top of, taxing the mining industry just for their revenue overall at the end of each year, they decided to slap a new revenue system onto them on top of that. That every single month, January, February, March, April, etc., you get the picture. Every month, at the start of the month, the companies have to report to the government how much they predict they're going to mine and thus export and sell, and pay an additional fee on that expectation based on the current market price at that given time in that month. And so uh, they started trying to do that, but the government has constantly been rejecting those and saying that the companies were using cobalt prices from like the month prior or a few days before writing the report to try to make the amount they pay lower. And so that's been this constant circular cycle that has seen quite a lot of delay of supply actually making it out of the Congo, like cut one of the two arrows off. So that is constrained cobalt supply. and has thus seen cobalt prices over the course of this year jump from around $20 per kilogram up to 50 or almost 50 now. And the response by the Congolese government has been the same response that the Russian government has given to, its citizens complaining about the gasoline and diesel fuel shortages in the country and the power disruptions and the everything else. So the Russian government has, constantly responded by saying the most famous one being recently about the fuel shortages that you guys may remember. They literally point blank just said to everyone's face, there are no fuel shortages. All of you are lying. So the Congolese government has told the entire world at large that you're all lying. There is no supply disruption. We are allowing everything to ship out normally at normal speeds and normal amounts. So this is the state of wait, wait for the lag, wait for the lag, wait for the lag, wait for the lag, and we're back to normal. So this is the state of international affairs we've come to at this point. Is everyone's response is to failings or bad things happening is just nah. Let's see. So carrying on with stuff in Russia and Ukraine. So another power generation station was hit in Belgorod. That is down. One remaining large fuel depot in Crimea was hit again for the third time after the fire was put out. And it was clear on satellites which batch of fuel tanks was still somewhat intact. Well, now that batch has been burning for multiple days because that batch was struck again. Also, some of the few remaining refineries that had not yet been hit, small regional refineries for the oblasts or republics that they're located in, Ulyanovsk and Mari is the top one. Let's see if I remembered my geography correctly. Mari's the top one, right? Shuvashi is the bottom one. Come on. Give me the oblast name. You're giving me cities and capitals. Give me the actual oblast name. Stop with the cities and the... Come on. Don't do this to me. All right. Fine. We're doing it. Mari. Yes, it's the top one. You can see the shape there. I got it right. Max O'Deer has not forgotten his geography. Don't at me. So, few remaining ones that had not yet been hit were hit. Down in Stavropol, which one's Stavropol? Okay, I might actually fail this one. Stavropol. No, wait, I won't. It's this one. It's this big one right here, because it's in between Krasnodar, Rostov, and Kalmykia. Stavropol. Stavropol, I was right. You guys thought you got me, but you didn't. So in Stavropol, also a large general use chemicals factory was also hit and disabled that made generalized industri it's a generalized industrial chemicals production plant, which means it makes a broad range of stuff from everything from artificially synthesized soda ash to liquid chemical stuff, acetone, methanol, what have you. It makes generalized industrial product plants make basically the intermediary chemical compounds that then can be made or are needed in the process to make literally anything and everything else from like military related stuff like rocket propellants to household cleaning chemicals, shower scrubbers, whatever. So that was struck. And one other major target was as well, but I forget which. I think it was one of those, one of the natural gas processing plants again, but I don't remember for certain. As everyone's familiar with oil refining, obviously you have to refine oil, separate it out into the different products based on how high it distills when you evaporate it up the tower, and also run it through several different filters and magnetic stuff to pull different contaminants out of it. Everyone usually, though, thinks that natural gas just comes up out of the pipeline and goes right into like a furnace or right into some factory and gets burned or used to make things. That is not the case. You do actually have to refine natural gas as well, although it's called processing instead of refining. But natural gas also has to go through a kind of refining process because it does bring up with it contaminant elements that you need to separate out, and also useful components that you don't want to just let into the atmosphere when you burn it, but you actually want to take those for use. Like, for example, a fair amount of our helium supply comes up alongside natural gas that comes up out of the ground. So you kind of want to, get that really, really non-Earth abundant, really useful helium out of that natural gas before you then just send it off to be burned. And you also want to separate the natural gas into methane, ethane, propane, butane, and what have you. So primarily, Ukraine has been striking the Astrakhan, and uh, that's yeah, that one is Volgograd, right? Because Saratov's above it. Are you going to show the names, Google Earth? Thank you. Okay, yes, I'm still right. I still got the geography right. You guys can't beat me. So Astrakhan and Volgograd natural gas processing plants are the ones that have been repeatedly hit. And I think they hit one in Orenburg once so far. But the larger processing plants are up in places like Komi and Arkhangelsk and places like that. So now that they have the long range Flamingo missile, the fair chance they'll start striking those as well, along with the refineries in that area and the transport pipelines themselves for both gas and oil. I don't think 3,000 kilometers is the Flamingo range, right? Let's get the ruler, launch from, say, somewhere around here. So I know they could hit there, but ooh, all right, that would be almost pushing it, but the Flamingo could actually reach Russia's oil and gas fields themselves. As nowadays, uh, the stuff down here in the big Caspian Basin has been depleted. The stuff up here has, in large part, been depleted. Still some coming from here, but most of Russia's oil and gas is now coming from this big, broad inland middle basin here, with some stuff coming from over here and some stuff coming from deeper Siberia over there, but most of it's coming from here. So, Flamingo could, judging by that measurement, then actually reach the primary oil production facilities and gas production facilities. So that will be interesting to see if they go for that angle then. Let me think. What else? Probably forgetting something. I feel like there was something in South America that I'm forgetting, but all I can remember is the even further copper supply disruptions from Chile because of their government still refusing to, or mostly refusing to authorize any new mining operations. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm forgetting about. So, for anybody who missed it, there was this big drug war in Rio. So, the Brazilian police raided this set of buildings that they suspected belonged to one of the major drug gangs, and their suspicions were correct, but they thought they were going to be busting a few guys and seizing some drugs. Turned out, for whatever reason, there were hundreds of dudes in there, and so they ended up having to, bring in like Brazilian SWAT, whatever their, I guess, SWAT acronym might be. And so they got into a massive night-long firefight in Rio with one of the big drug gangs. I think there were some, yeah, there's the refinery, or sorry, the depot's remaining tanks in Crimea burning again. Where's the Rio stuff? The big, yeah, here's uh, I don't know. I don't know whether the fires were because stuff got lit on fire in combat somehow, or that the drug gang just started setting buildings on fire randomly as like a, I don't know, a threat tactic to try to get the Brazilian police to back down. But it ended up the Brazilian police did really well, actually, better than past engagements. The There were only a few officers killed, and they killed like I think 110 or 120 gang members, while arresting hundreds of others who eventually probably only surrendered because they ran out of ammunition or something like that. But so yeah, there was the the 2025 Battle of Rio de Janeiro. It wasn't the aliens from Battle Los Angeles, but it was something, I guess. Now it's time to drink some more water. Let's see. What else do we get? Blah blah blah. Uh, Deep sea mining. Make sure everybody's synced here. No, or sorry, wait. Yes, it does look like it's properly synced. Anybody who just arrived, blah blah blah. 500th video, 5 hour special stream. Down to 4 minutes and 24 hours and 23 minutes now because of Canadian Giga Chad, something cat. Because if you give any $1 in super chats, that reduces the length of my social suffering by 5 minutes. Uh, yeah, no, deep sea mining is not the way to go. As the because you see the infrastructure for that is you got two ways to go about that. You can either get really slow and crippled and send down big like robo submersibles to grab your nodule rocks off the ocean floor and start like loading them one by one into like a seabed basket that you then reel up, which is cringe and inefficient. Or you can do something environmentally super destructive and like drag a mining dredge dredger for miles along the ocean floor, and you'll end up getting a lot of material to work with and then try to refine out the concentrations of. But that's, horrifically destructive and also way more expensive than land mining because you're operating in the deep sea out at ocean and you need all the infrastructure around. Whereas For on land mining, for example, if we go to Bingham Canyon up in Utah, it is obviously still has an environmental impact, but it's concentrated. The giant holes we dig are kind of concentrated in one spot, cone funneling down, and we get way more material out of it because there is more material there, but also it's the setup just works way easier. The the grade is like consistent. We know that X percentage of these different metals are in here. So, dig up the dirt, send it through the separator, process the different products out, and then smelt them. Uh, versus ocean hunting and not the cool arcade game from the 90s or the early 2000s, but the cringe kind, where like, yeah, we know the seabed is basically basalt, but there's these rocks, bro. There's these rocks and like, there are random rocks here and there, and this one has 30% something, that one has 2% something, this one has 11.163% something. It's not the way to go through things. And the only area where it would actually make sense is this one island. I think it's like right around here that Japan did a study on. This one undersea island, because the top of this undersea volcano is still like 1,400 feet underwater. But at the very base of that volcano on the seabed mud has an extremely high rare earth ion concentration to the point where it rivals not the North China stuff, not the North China like black dirt stuff, but the Southern China ion clay deposits that are not as concentrated but still impressive. Whichever one it is up here, the seabed mud around the base of that undersea volcano, uh, that has enough like consistent concentration volumetrically throughout that to where that would feasibly, logistically, and economically be legitimately worth pulling up. That would still have a degrading environmental impact, but it would be one that would be really localized to that one thing at least. Granted, again, because of how stuff spreads rapidly and propagates through water volumes instead of like the air or instead of across land. Because on land, you know, we kind of can exercise basically total control over the stuff. You got your big digger down there doing the digs and what have you. We can, exercise different levels of like control and everything and isolation to keep like bad products and stuff that comes up with digging with it from going away. Whereas in the ocean, it's a free for all. Everything's just going to propagate out. So it is bigger than a. It's much that even that little undersea volcano area, that one particular one would be way bigger than a normal open pit mine on land, anyways. But also, it's in the ocean, so it would propagate. However, even that though would still be way less impactful than like dragging seabed dredgers for thousands of miles along the seafloor to like scoop up your totally dude bro bruh nodules and stuff. So no, sea mining is not stop. Lag. Nope. Okay, we're normal. So no, sea mining is not a direction to go in. And there's people that are going to be pushing that. They're going to be a mix of kind of well-meaning people who just don't grasp the idea that it's not going to work out, and then uh, there's going to be like AI uh, tech investor bro type people that are trying to do hype man stuff to like draw in capital that they can then pull the rug out from and run away with. All right, who else do we get? Blah blah blah. Yeah, even if you use a water jet to lift it, that's still going to cause disruption. I mean would be that would be more efficient than using the robo arms to go down and grab them one by one, and that would be less disruptive than dragging a dredger scoop across the floor. But that's still that still just wouldn't work out. Like the only thing that we dredge the seabed for, and by we I mean some humans in some specific places, like Indonesia. The only reason we dredge the seabed for in some places is like just offshore around islands, and that is for the sake of dredging up the sea sands, all of which is industrial grade sand. So that's a case of where 100% of what you're bringing up with you is what you're seeking. So the only thing this isn't always applicable, obviously, but the saying the way we do things is for a reason tends to apply to a lot of things. You can default to that most of the time. Uh, the and under that application, that there's a reason that seabed that sand mining is one of the only things that we willingly dredge the ocean for. And even at that, that's only specific areas like off of specific island coastlines. Now, that's still a massive environmental disruption, especially because that's where well, much of the ocean life in terms of like raw biomass volume and biodiversity is. But that's the only thing that humanity dredges the seafloor for is ocean sand not too far offshore because all of that sand is industrial grade sand that can be used to make concrete and the specific types of glass we use and everything else. And that is a rare case where, again, almost 100% of what you drag up to the surface is the thing you're looking for. Because you're not, in that case, dragging up the sand hoping to find something in the sand. You're dragging up the sand because you want the sand itself. Uh, let's see. Oh, that's what I forgot. I knew that there was something in Africa I forgot about. Before we potentially roll over into me talking about things no one wants to hear about, like writing projects and eventually just playing that old 1990s Microsoft pinball game I remember from when I was like 5 or 6 that I would spend hours on back then in much better times than we live in now. Now, granted, I would take the 2010s back over right now, even uh, not just because I lived in Alaska at the time, which I would love to go back to, but also because it was way better than right now. Uh, the list of people who I'm legitimately convinced want me and many other people dead was actually not that long at the time. Uh, everybody, was starting to, but not yet completely frothing at the mouth, demanding the blood of many other groups of people yet. And also back then, Jesse was still alive. My older sister, sort of, my first cat, who we had since I was 4, and my dad was constantly overseas for like most of the year, and my mom worked nights, so it was basically me alone in the house for a decent portion of my childhood and teenage years. After like about an hour or two after I got home from school, so a huge chunk of my life, it was literally just me and our cat Jessie, who started acting like she was kind of my mother or my older sister since uh, during that time I would have been exuding growth hormones, and ours and cats probably don't smell that different, so she probably literally assumed I was a really oversized kitten that she needed to take care of. Now, Mozambique. For those of you who may remember, there is natural gas and oil offshore of Mozambique, and they are getting into it gradually, but they've had a number of delays relating to constant insurgencies of terrorism from various groups. They keep getting pushed back, then they return, then they get pushed back again. So that keeps delaying the project. Now the project has restarted again. Mozambique at the moment produces less than half a billion cubic feet per day. They produce about 0.3 of natural gas. Uh, Not really that much is exported. A lot of it's used domestically for power production. Some bit goes to predominantly South Africa, I believe. Now they want to become a decent natural gas producer, which they have the capability of being. But again, they've seen constant delays. But now the project is back online and work is progressing. And if it goes according to plan, then 2028, 3 years from now, or possibly 2029, it will start up and they will jump up to over 2 billion cubic feet per day. And all of that 2 billion cubic feet per day, or at least most of it, will be exported via LNG tanker in either direction to Europe. They've already signed contracts to supply Europe specifically. So they will be able to start getting some money off of that once that gets up online, unless unfortunately it gets delayed again by, another terrorist insurgency, but seem to have done decent enough work pushing them back this time. So the progress on that development has resumed, at least for the time being. Okay. Now I believe that was everything on the list of stuff. No, wait, never mind. I forgot. Okay, so guess what's happening in the ceasefire area? If you guessed that the ceasefire is being repeatedly violated by everybody, you guessed correctly. So, all across the Gaza Strip, uh, the IDF is dropping bombs. Hamas is engaging the IDF ground forces on the ground. So, the whole ceasefire thing is non existent. Now, is this a surprise to anyone? Hopefully not. I would assume anyone who watches me for a specific instance should really not be surprised. No one actually thought this was real. In the meantime, IDF continues also bombing a few locales in Lebanon, but their attention has been largely refocused to Gaza now that the ceasefire officially does not actually exist. And also, we have more more consent being manufactured as the imagery and words are being put out into the public about how uh, it's been observed that Iran is re-importing additional air defense stuff and weapon systems and are rapidly rearming themselves to replace what they lost in the 2 week war back in June. And also that we have seen a lot of industrial activity and movement at their nuclear sites. The satellite surveillance photos and stuff of all that have been getting disseminated publicly. So the hints are being publicly dropped that it is, going to light up again. But we all knew that, hopefully. So the initial Israeli statement was that they were going to go again sometime within the final 3 months of the year. We're basically through with October now, so that leaves November and December. There was supposedly a leak back in summer that had initially suggested that the plan was early November. So we're about to enter early November, so we'll see if that comes true. Possibly because if that was a real leak, for the sake of not verifying the leak, they would probably do it some other time instead of early November. Or if that was a deliberate leak and it was more like a psyop thing, and the idea was like to get Iran thinking that they would attack at a different time because they don't want to give veracity to the leaker. Then to double back around on that, the strategy would be to actually go in the leaked time frame of early November. But that's a bunch of psychological game stuff, and you have to guess at which case is the actual correct scenario. But everyone's dropping their public hints ahead of time uh, now, so it's no longer just me saying it. Now it's the Israeli and U.S. militaries kind of letting you know publicly that yeah, we're going to do this again. Okay, that should be everything that was on the list. Unless I forgot about stuff. So let's look around. Yemen, no. Oman, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, no. Saudi Arabia, no. Kuwait, no. Iraq, Iraq looks like the agreement actually is holding this time for renewed exports from the Kurdistan region into Turkey through that pipeline. It looks like now that actually is holding because it's been 2 straight weeks without it faltering. So that is plus 200,000 barrels per day. That has Iraq's total production thus now back up to 4.5 million or so, possibly 4.6. So that is actually holding. We will have to see, of course, if it suddenly falls out like it has every other time, because they've negotiated and renegotiated the export treaty like 8 times so far in just the last year alone. So I don't know how long this one will actually hold up for exactly, but for all I know, it could actually last forever. We'll just have to wait and see. Check chat. Energy transition away from fossil fuels. Yes and no. I mean, a imaginary world where we do not use fossil hydrocarbons, that is a load of nonsense. A world where we use a lot less of them, that is possible. And it is possible uh, because the total net energy yields, and I've gone over this before, uh, peaked in like the 50s and 60s and had been gradually declining down since then. Started going way down in the late 2000s through the 2010s. It's climbed back up a bit since then, through the late 2010s and now the 2020s, because of how much, especially in regards to natural gas and petroleum, how much conventional, even if a lot of it in oil's case is offshore, how much new conventional stuff has been brought online in that time frame since then. But you see here in my crude drawing of a graph that I would have otherwise made, it's kind of just brought it back up to like the same place where the same like downward trajectory would have gone down to anyways. But yes, a lot of non-fossil hydrocarbon stuff does have lower net energy yield. It's not actually this low. It's not down to like half of what it once was yet. But a lot of stuff does have a like lower net yield. However, that lower net yield is not remotely as low as people make it out to be, as there are a bunch of uh, peak oil slash EROEI people who've been around since the since 2010 or so, and I know because I used to be one of them way back then, long before I actually started the channel, who are kind of in a sunk cost fallacy where they have believed for so long now that it's over and civilization's going to implode and we're all going Mad Max or The Last of Us just without the zombies, that they can't really let go of it at this point because they'd have to acknowledge that they've spent like 15 plus years of their life believing something that's not actually going to come about. And that's very psychologically damaging, which is the same reason why a lot of people refuse to either believe stuff or stop believing stuff. You know, especially when it gets like really severe, like in certain countries at certain times, because you would have to otherwise psychologically come to grips with the fact that you actually did this. You actually lost all this time. You lost all of this portion of your own humanity in some cases. And most human beings cannot actually face that. They cannot actually come to grips with that. But most non fossil hydrocarbon energy sources do have a lower net yield to run on, but it's not as low as it's made out to be. It is higher than the net yield of fossil fuels of all kinds will go down to eventually if we like ran them into oblivion. So a future where we actually use a lot less of them and rely more on non-fossil hydrocarbon things more than we do now, uh, that is going to happen one way or another. That's nothing stopping that. We over? The lag is over. Okay, praise God. A world where we do not use fossil hydrocarbons at all and still have a modernized civilization, no, that is a ridiculous LSD fever dream. Especially, as I always say, the absurd version that's constantly portrayed where we rely for everything entirely on solar panels, wind turbines, and big bunkers full of batteries. That is delusional nonsense. The uh, the actual the best non or very decarbonized power future is nuclear and geothermal, the one truly functional renewable apart from hydropower. But in many cases, we've dammed up every river that can be dammed up. So, in most countries at least. So, hydropower is kind of maxed out. Geothermal is the one true, uh, like consistent baseload providable renewable power. However, it's been constantly ignored because geothermal power plants kind of just look like regular power plants. They don't look green. They don't look like the future the way wind turbines and solar panels do in people's heads. But geothermal is it's the way to go. And oh, that's another thing I forgot. It actually came up in public, you know, normie news, I guess, finally, and even in government funding announcements for the first time. We have finally acknowledged that this is the way we should be going. Because you see, to lay the baseline for you, you have areas like, for say, California and other places that are along fault lines where a lot of stuff is pushed upwards from the mantle and the hotter rocks are closer to the surface. Like in California, for example, where the US's only real geothermal power plant is for the moment, in California, if you drill down only less than a mile, like 4,000 feet or something like that, you get rocks that are 600 or 700 degrees Fahrenheit. However, everyone just assumes that everywhere else on the planet, like say the open plains in the middle of the US, for example, or the eastern seaboard, is just like barren, ice cold rock all the way down for some reason, but that's not how it works. It's kind of room temperature and actually can get a bit colder for the first kilometer or mile or so. But after that, you start transitioning hotter and hotter by roughly, depending on where you are on the surface, between 40 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit per mile or per kilometer. I don't remember which one. So even in the deepest places, like say, I don't know, Oklahoma or North Texas or something like that, or South Dakota or whatever, even in the deepest places, you would only have to go about 5 or 6 miles before you would get rocks that are like uh, oven temperature, like 350 or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And drilling 5 or 6 miles is not an issue. It is constantly portrayed as one, as a means to detract from the potential of geothermal, but that's not an issue. We drill that deep in oil and gas drilling all the time. There's nothing actually difficult about it. Uh, it's a bit pricey when you go past 4 miles. That's when it starts turning expensive, but it doesn't turn difficult until you go past 6. When you start trying to do 7 or 8, like the Soviet Union did in the Kola borehole experiment, once you start trying for 7 or 8, that's when it turns impossible for a conventional drill. But now, and this is the part that was even actually spoken of in government and funding, given demonstrative funding for a project in Wyoming, we have microwave drilling, as in we have it's called a millimeter wave drill. It has the emitters on the bottom, and instead of like your microwave, which is tuned to do the thing where it like resonates water molecules in your food, which then heats up your food, draw some amount of heat wave stuff around it. This is it's a frequency adjustable thing, so it can adjust its frequency. Instead of straight waves, we'll draw curvy waves, or then we'll draw some jagged waves. It can change and adjust frequency, and it actually causes the rock itself to rock boil, basically, and gasify. Now, most of the rocks are either silicon or some form of carbon molecule, carbon or silicon bonded with something else. So they turn into gas. Some of the rock turns into CO2. Some of it turns into basically just the initial carbonaceous compounds in a gas form that then immediately cool back down into rock uh, within a few seconds of coming to the surface. I mean, they rain back down as like dust in a containment thing outside of the drill. So it drills down, it literally gasifies the rock as it goes down using microwaves, and the dust, the gaseous rock coming back up, then collects and resettles as dust as it cools down in a bin. And again, most of it is generic, like rock material, uh, feldspar, basalt, gypsum, what have you, trona, which we get soda ash from. So that can then actually be used and sold for money. But the drill then keeps going and keeps gasifying the rock as it goes down. And this does not have the same limits that conventional drilling does because it doesn't rely on material strength or run into issues with the rock liquid wrapping around the drill bit like plastic, which is what happened to the Soviet super deep borehole experiment. Instead, if you're literally just instantly gassing the rock and it gets sucked up to the surface and resettles and everything, then that's not an issue. You can keep going as deep as you want until the temperatures get actually too hot for the structural steel or super nickel alloy that the drill pipe is composed of, which would not happen until you got to at least 10, 11, or 12 miles, which again, you don't need to go to because you only need to go down about 5 or 6, even in the most heat deprived places, to be able to get geothermal production levels of heat. So we are finally acknowledging the reality. The only good thing the government is doing at the moment, uh, as it's otherwise shut down, which means my dad's not getting paid. He hasn't gotten paid for almost a month. So I'm the only one getting money in the house at the moment, and the amount of money I earn is not uh, not outside of the boundaries of pathetically low. So you can do geothermal power literally anywhere. Like that's actually completely true at this point. You can literally do it anywhere as long as you have a water supply to use for it. And with nuclear, you make the radioactive waste and everything that becomes a problem for 10,000 years, except it doesn't have to because we can get rid of it. We know how to. They're called BBRs sometimes, or they sometimes have other names, but they're called like breeder burner reactors. Sometimes they're just called burner reactors that produce like for the amount of material going into them. They if you use the nuclear waste, the spent fuel from a nuclear power plant, a regular one, the burner reactor will produce like only 2/3 as much energy from that material. However, the process it conducts, the particular fission process it goes through in that setup, accelerates the like cascade of decay down past the initial state of that the waste was in, and the end products of that, different types of strontium, different types of lead, and even xenon gas, are only like lethally radioactive for about 80 to 120 years at the longest. After that, they've become pretty safely inert. So the nuclear waste problem isn't even a problem. Like we could actually just get rid of it by throwing it into burner reactors, but we don't because burner reactors are about twice as expensive, sometimes 2.5 times as expensive as normal ones. So no one wants to pay for it. It's easier to just dig a big hole in a mountain and throw it in the hole. So that's what we've mostly been doing. Now everybody pays Finland to take their nuclear waste off them because Finland has a really super deep cave hole thing. However, now we're kind of realizing the whole prospect of using burner reactors as wait, wait for the lag, wait for the lag, wait for the lag, wait for the lag, wait for the lag. We're back. Uh, as there is one being built for further feasibility testing in Idaho. We don't need to do the testing. We know that the concept works. Maybe you're just doing cost testing. I don't know. But there's one in Russia that has kind of had to halt its stuff because Russia's falling apart. But now India has built one and is building another. And so they're actually locking in on this, it seems. And in due time, people who don't want to spend the money themselves to build them and rely on them might start paying India money to like take their nuclear waste off of them, and then India can use it as fuel in its burner reactors. And in terms of uranium supply, we can not mining the seafloor, but chemically like filtering and extracting from the sea water in a very benign process. And this would be one of the only other things apart from sand dredging, which is not a benign process. We can actually get uranium out of seawater because the amount of uranium in seawater is actually really high. It is surprisingly high in the Earth's ocean waters. It's way higher than we like initially might have thought it would have been in terms of parts per million concentration. It's high enough to actually extract feasibly. You would have these like tether things from like a ship. They would look like big pipe cleaners, and they just kind of drift there and slowly through a attraction process chemically with some antimony thing, they would attract uranium ions out of the ocean water, and then you reel them up onto the ship and bring them on shore, and you get the uranium off them and refine it. And in terms of human planning timescale, the amount of supply we could get in terms of time frame out of the ocean's concentration of it by the amount just dissolved in the water is effectively infinite, as is the amount of time we could use geothermal for without, quote unquote, I have to put really big quotes here because people are really dumb, depleting the Earth's interior heat, which is not a thing we could actually be capable of doing. As you see, the heat coming from inside the Earth immediately hits a dead stop because it can't really transfer into space all that well. It can't really transfer into the gaseous atmosphere all that well. And it can't even transfer through the top layer of the crust all that well because the top layer of the crust isn't really that dense. So remember, uh, you get like a cubic unit of something at surface level, and you'll call that 1 cubic unit. You go down, say, 10 miles, you get the same cubic amount volumetrically. That is way more cubic units than is in that one at the surface because of all the insane density and pressure and how compacted everything is. And then keep multiplying that effect as you go down into the mantle and into the core. And the temperatures that are down there, uh, the temperatures, you apply the temperatures that are down there, the sheer amount of material that is density concentrated, and that heat cannot really move all that well. And the amount that we would be using out of the amount of volumetric heat that is actually there is insanely, incomparably small. But I think the only other real argument people have is against like geothermal is like hippie argument stuff about like don't drill holes because it hurts the earth or whatever, or the earth spirit or something like that. Okay. Oh, hey, Nito. Yes, it has been somewhat. I got $7.50 actually. That was right at the start of stream though. For anybody who's shown up since the last time I said this is the 500th video on the channel. Technically, it's not blah 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 because there's deleted videos and stuff. But so I'm going for 5 hours because it's the 500th video. Except every $1 in super chats or donations or whatever uh, gets me 5 minutes off that runtime. So $7.50 brings that down to 4 hours and 23 minutes, of which we are 1 hour and 40 minutes into. So that is roughly half. No, sorry, not halfway yet. What am I thinking? That's like 40% of the way that I have to go thus far, unless anything else comes in that reduces that length. Let me drink some more water. But yeah, doing the this whole big thing because partially because it is almost the 500th video, but also because long streams get more ad revenue even outside of super chats and anything than the average my average length videos do, unless the video like randomly gets 100,000 views or whatever. So that plus any potential super chatting uh, is a lot more beneficial, and I kind of have to try to make sure I maybe earn at least a little bit more while my dad is not getting paid since the government is still out of commission for the moment. Hopefully, it will restart before his next paycheck would be, which would be not next week, but the week after that. So if it restarts before then he will get paid on that Tuesday, November 14th or something, whatever, and get all the back pay from this entire month that he deserves but is being withheld because politicians are not humans and are inherently demonic. I think that was the one other thing I still had is the U.S. population. That's the one thing that I'd forgotten up to that point. So, for everybody who's unaware, U.S. population, unlike other Western countries, has continued climbing primarily nowadays because of immigration, as the actual U.S. birth rate was staying way higher than like European countries, but eventually over the last decade and a half has come down to about 1.6 or 1.7. So actual children being born contribution to this has tapered off. And now the primary boost is coming from inbound people. However, that number has actually contracted significantly, as it was previously roughly 1 to 1.2 million people inbound per year, and usually around like one. It was pretty steady at around like 1.2 million people net gain. That is in terms of children being born. The actual number was like 4 million children born per year. That has declined down to now about 3 or below 3. However, the net amount was like plus 1.2 because you also have to factor in the number of people that are dying each year as more and more of the population is old people. So number of people being born and number of people dying each year has gotten narrowly close to each other now. And the number of inbound people, the number of people who this year canceled their intended immigration to the U.S. is higher than was expected. So it looks like it's going to be closer to half the expected number of people. So roughly on real rough numbers, like 500, 600,000 inbound, 500, 600,000 net gain from children born, puts the U.S. population increase this year at probably only like between 1.2 and 1.4 million instead of the expected usual 2 or as much as 2.2 million. So, like last year, for example, continued going up from under 340 million to right about 342 million, but uh, and confirmed by the like active monitoring of the Census Bureau up to this point, it's looking like only going to end the year a little bit over 343 instead of 344. Currently, I believe the latest estimate based on the best inbound tracking and hospital birth record tracking they have is and death certificate tracking, obviously, that they have is that we're up to like 342.8 or 342.9 right now. So we'll say 342.85. So it looks like we're going to end the year just a bit over 343 million. So even my initial, nope, it's not in there. It's over here. So even my initial population projection, you can also find these in the dry folder in that's linked under every video. So even my initial projection, which many people told me was kind of ridiculous, of the U.S. population plateau out and peak, might actually end up being a bit higher uh, than the actual numbers turn out to be. But we'll have to see. I think, did I put the adjusted ones in here? I think I might have just not put them in the folder specifically. Here we go. Uh, yeah, here's the one I did adjusted with the most recent birth rate and accelerated death rate numbers. So would have the U.S. Hitting a very rough plateau around or under 370 for a couple decades, probably at like 367. However, if the reduced immigration trend continues, if it holds, like if it, say, this reduction this year from an expected 1.2 million down to like only 600,000 or something, if that net total, if that is not a one-time thing, or if that does not like reverse in future years and it holds and also does not go lower, then this is what the adjusted curve would look like. It would end up seeing a peak lower towards like 360 or upper 350s around 2040 or the early 2040s or so, before then tipping over much earlier than initially anticipated. So those are the updates on that. Let's see, did we get anybody else? More people showing up potentially. No, we've been on a downward spiral ever since I started going off about geothermal power. Everyone will get their back pay, but not until it actually happens. Hello, new arrivals. We were doing a 5-hour stream because this is the 500th video on the channel, technically, except any $1 received through the what's it called? My brain is breaking. Super chat button reduces the length of my social suffering by 5 minutes. We got one 10 CAD donation from this GigaChad Canadian sunglasses cat or whatever. So that translates to 750 US, which has reduced the total stream time that I in theory, have to sit here for down to 4 hours and 23 minutes. Now, my throat's already starting to get sore, so uh, I'm going to try to make sure I don't quit, but I might end up failing. We'll have to see. So let me drink some more water, and then, unless anything else comes up, chat-wise, then I'm just going to peruse over each country, see if there's anything I'm forgetting about, or can think of anything I'm forgetting about. And then, if not, then I might play. You guys might actually see me play a game for the first time in forever. I might play that old 1990s Windows pinball game if it doesn't stall the computer out. And after and/or sometime around that time as well, I might send everybody away by starting to talk about writing project related stuff. How long have we been on for? 1 hour and 50 minutes. Yeah, so that is 2 hours and 30 minutes remaining, roughly. All right, let's see if I can remember anything specific. Chile, no. Argentina, no. Uruguay, no. Rio, Brazil, we already did the big drug gang war thing in Rio. Paraguay, no. Bolivia, no. Peru, I feel like I'm forgetting something about Peru, but I can't recall. Oh, yeah, actually now I can. Peru has, oops, are we doing this again? Hold on. I know how to fix, I learned how to fix this now. You go out here, then you draw something, then you delete it, then you come back in and it will start working. I learned how to fix it. So, thank you, God Almighty. Uh, Peru has Peru has begun oil and gas exploration again. Uh, However, they're not really going to find that much. They did most of the area that they could have found stuff, which is primarily up there, because this area is contiguous with both the topography and geology that occurs throughout Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela. As remember, it's a where you're going to find oil and gas is a combination of topography and geology. As you can have a proper topographic setup, like this is bottom of a mountains and river basin area. However, if the underlying geology is not the correct type that would actually hold oil, that would actually have oil and hydrocarbons trapped in it, then you're not really going to get anything. So we found that the geology only really extended down through here from Colombia, then into Ecuador. That's why Ecuador was so prolific despite being so small. And then portions into Peru. Oil and gas exploration has been done further south into Peru before, but primarily found that the geology just doesn't really work for it. That's why Peru's numbers were always so small. So they're now going to resume oil and gas exploration in the remaining area, but again, they're not really going to find anything. They certainly will find something, but they're not going to suddenly find like Ecuador or Colombia numbers. They might find stuff that might allow them to like go back up above 100,000 barrels per day for a little bit at some point, but they're not going to find anything that would like take them to net exporter level. Colombia reached a new record high in electricity demand, which you guys will see in the electricity demand levels update video. They almost hit 10 gigawatts of active demand load across their grid. They came in at 9.9. That's the highest they've ever been. despite being a country of 54 million people. Let's see. Uh, Panama, that copper mine that was responsible for about 1% of the world's copper supply, is effectively permanently shut down. So that supply is cut off. So that price rise in copper that was caused specifically by that one is effectively locked in permanently. Uh, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, the others, I don't think there was anything else. Already did the hurricane stuff, obviously. Nothing, or other than Idaho. Up in Idaho, a cobalt and chromium mine is about to start. So some of the only chromium mined in the U.S. is mined in Montana, and some of that same geological deposit like extends down throughout Idaho as well. But in Idaho, it's also connected to some chromium, or sorry, to some cobalt on top of that. So uh, mining of chromium and of cobalt is now going to expand in the U.S., partially being urged by the Pentagon for further national security purposes, but also because it is more economically feasible now as chromium prices are decently up, especially with constant ongoing supply disruptions from South Africa, as South Africa continues to fall into a million pieces. And cobalt prices are constantly staying up now. They were already up before the Congo started doing all of that weird triple tax nonsense. But now that they're doing all that triple tax nonsense, now the supplies are getting heavily disrupted and the price is up to $50 a kilogram. So this is now viable, or more viable than it already had been determined to be. So that's going to start up. Let's see. Was there anything over in Europe that I might be forgetting about? Portugal? No. Spania? No. France? No. Italia? Swiss? Or Switzerland? Oostenrijk, Deutschland, Luxembourg, Belgique, Nederland, UK, Ireland, Denmark, Norge, Sverige, Sumi. Uh, don't remember anything in particular. Esti, Latvia, Lietuva, Polska. Uh, yeah, not recalling anything particularly big, at least, or big enough and in the category of things that I would normally register or discuss. Masr, Egypt, or either Masr or Mizrum, depends on which dialect of Arabic you're speaking. Libya, ongoing delays. That's all I know about in Libya at the moment. Ongoing delays with their installation of natural gas collection and processing infrastructure, as like many of the other Middle East countries, with a few exceptions, Libya was one who again just layered its gas from the top of towers, never really captured it or actually like exported it or used it. However, or they did use it just only domestically. However, they have been trying over the last few years, along with restoring their oil production to their former levels, to install the actual gas capping and capturing mechanisms. But they've been going through constant delays, and looks like they have not completed those yet. Otherwise, they would be up around 2 or 2.5 billion cubic feet per day instead of only one. Tunisia, don't remember anything specific. Algeria has upped their gas output. Already spoke about that a number of times in other streams. Morocco, nothing new. Still occupying Western Sahara and suppressing the Sahrawi people. Senegal is, I think, they're moving forward or getting close to natural gas production from one of their gas specific fields soon. I don't know what the numbers are going to be. Mali, the new dictator guy in Mali, keeps losing more and more control of the territory uh, to the Tuaregs from the north who want to be separate independent state. He keeps losing more and more ground to them. So I don't know. I really don't think they'd like go all the way down and try to push him out. If they can just keep overrunning him and the all the Russian mercenaries that are there that have been performing rather non-impressively, I'd say they'd probably only really just push to what they consider their border to be, and then just try to exist there. Maybe try pushing for some international recognition of Tuareg as an actual country. Uh, no one would really go for it, though. Uh, Nigeria did set a new record high in electricity demand as they were up in the lower fours, but earlier this year they finally switched on new power generation facilities that thus allowed more electricity to be provided to the country than was previously. And it turns out demand for that new electricity was already there. So they're up to most recently a flat 4.8 gigawatts. Uh, Chad, Sudan, South Sudan, uh, Ethiopia, Somalia, Eritrea, Kenya, Uganda. Already did Mozambique. Yeah, there was nothing else new that I can recall or think of. Oh, wait, other than this. All right, so it's not just the Gaza ceasefire that failed. You also have the Afghan Pakistan ceasefire that completely failed and imploded. So they started taking shots at each other again, and Pakistan has declared that they're going to annihilate uh, the Taliban government. So I don't know if they were just making that statement to make a statement or if they're actually about to start launching like major airstrikes to back that up. But possibly a big, or it wouldn't really be big technically. But in terms of the possible scale between those two players, possibly a big Afghan Pakistan war might be starting. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. Did the Kazakhstan stuff? Nothing recently of my particular interest in the other stans, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, not Mongolia either. Rocket Man in North Korea has been launching some more rockets because he didn't like the fact that he wasn't getting as much attention as he used to get. So he launched a few rockets randomly, try to get some uh, get some attention on him again. It worked for a few seconds, but then everyone kind of just walked away. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything then. It should be past 2 hours now. uh, $50 a kilogram for cobalt. That that's not that wild. I mean, a couple of years back during the like 15,000th Congo civil war, when the supplies were disrupted completely, it jumped up to like 150 overnight, basically. But the Congolese government and the southern like, clans and tribes quickly formed a coalition to make sure the supply kept going out because that's the country's primary source of money, basically. So that disruption did not last very long, but it also the price didn't fall right back down to at the time like 15 either. But in the past, at one point back in the 80s, during the height of the full-blown Zaire war across the entire country, and that was back when like 90% of the world's cobalt supply came from the Congo. The price went up to inflation adjusted to modern dollars, about 300 per kilogram. Back in the dollars of the time, I think it was like 70 or something like that. Actually, yeah, that's something we can do before I play pinball or bore people with writing and check prices. Not those prices. We already looked at those prices. What am I looking at? The rare earths and strategic metal prices. Not look at the latest updates. 450 for dysprosium, 150 for neodymium, 143 for praseodymium. Terbium is is up this year, but it's down from the $4,500 per kilogram highs that it hit a while ago. What are you doing? Get out of my face. Over 1,200 bucks per kilogram for a gallium. That's up from the normal 400, 600 it was at years ago. Germanium, uh, still going up. It was up to about $5,000 per kilogram a few months ago. Now it's up to almost $6,000 per kilogram. As and hafnium's now up to 5,000. Indium, rhenium's up to 4,300. Dang, okay. Jet engine prices are gonna go up decently. But yeah, germanium's getting used up en masse, not just in the Ukraine war, but because of it, as all those FPV uh, small suicide bombing drones that are used by the thousands every day are to avoid jamming. They're operated off of spooled out like 15-kilometer long fiber optic cables. Fiber optics is the primary thing that we use germanium for, because fiber optic cables would not function without it. And so much germanium is being lost and atomized, and also the cords, the cables themselves that just fall on the fields and are left there. Some of them are getting cut and broken down and run over, and so just chips and pieces of them are just being scattered to the general environments and or buried in soil. So that's that's effectively gone and lost forever. But it's not just the war itself; it's also the fact that other countries like Poland, Libya, countries in Africa, countries in the Middle East, different rebel groups in Syria, Taiwan. Have a lot of people, including both those who don't have the money for like bigger real weapon systems and those who do, like Taiwan, for example, and Poland, are making, the Baltics are also making a lot, are making tens or hundreds of thousands of these things themselves after seeing their effect on warfare in Ukraine. So that's also causing a massive germanium demand draw in for all of those that are getting made. So people initially only think about the numbers being expended in Ukraine and think that shouldn't be too much. The amount of like fiber optic cable length getting used there should only be like 4% of the like demand. But you have to remember all these stockpiles are also being built by everybody else in response to this. So that demand impact number is actually a lot bigger. It's in the double digits, and thus has germanium up to $6,000 per kilogram as of the present moment. And huge chunk of the supply comes from China, unfortunately, but it doesn't have to because germanium is not mined, actually, not by itself at least. Germanium most often occurs in, I'm going to highlight the Appalachias and the Wyoming Cobalt, and up home in Alaska, the Central Coal region. Uh, Germanium occurs most commonly within coal and in the flue ash dust from coal plants after the coal is burned. You can get the germanium out of there in decent concentrations. That's one of the primary ways it's obtained. The other, I'll circle the Red Dog mine up here in Alaska, or back up home in Alaska. Let's go into it specifically. Uh, Red Dog was it down here? Pretty sure it was down here on this end, but it might have been up on the higher peninsula. No, no. Red Dog, where are you located? Okay, so you are on the main peninsula then. You have to be. But the Red Dog zinc mine up home in Alaska, the largest explicitly targeting zinc alone mine on Earth, for instance, is one of the U.S.'s primary producers of germanium, because germanium does occur alongside zinc a lot, and you can get it as a byproduct, but you have to willingly do so. And in a lot of our zinc mining, we just don't because China does it cheaper. So that's one of the, I mean, that's the reason that we outsourced everything is because it was cheaper. But oh, hey, look, it's right there with a giant label on it. There's Red Dog. Red Dog zinc mine. So similar to chromium, this is what a high concentration of zinc ore, when zinc is the predominant ore, looks like. It looks like really dark gray dirt or black dirt. Chromium looks the same when chromium is the predominant ore that you're mining. Just like how, iron in iron mines, iron ore basically just looks like red dirt. Bauxite, the primary ore that we mine aluminum from, looks like orange dirt. And tin ores look like yellow dirt, sometimes a very bright, lighter orange dirt. And let's see, what am I getting? Uh, for gold and silver, let's go down to the Kinross mine, the Fort Knox mine, right north of home, where I wish I could still be back up home in Fairbanks. But no, 2020 happened. Where gold and silver is the predominant prevailing ore, uh, you get a bunch of lighter, almost whitish dirt. Okay, we get anything else? Nobody new in chat, but if anybody new did show up, if you want to donate through the super chat button thing, any and every $1 reduces the stream length by 5 minutes because I don't actually want to stream for 5 hours. But thank you to the Giga Chad Canadian dude. The required stream time is now down to only 4 hours and 23 minutes, of which we still have 2 hours and 10 minutes roughly to go through. So now I'm going to drink some more water, and then, unless anything comes up in chat that requires me to answer or address or ramble about, then I'm probably going to start playing that old pinball game. And let's give my voice a break for a little bit. Were you streaming tonight? Like a surprise Thursday stream or whatever? I want to know if I'm missing out on my slow Fox coin imaginary wealth accumulation. Close Google Earth so you can no longer impede me. No, Google, I'm not playing Pac-Man. I'm going to be playing pinball. Right after I see if Blue Blue Bro with Blackjack is streaming or not. As in theory, I would not be able to show up for another 2 hours, obviously. I don't know what the stream delay is between when I say stuff and people hear it. I think I'm not on like a super connection, so it should probably be like 20 to 30 seconds. 2 hours and 16 thus far. Oh, I stumbled across this because of those Facebook memories notifications. I stumbled across this picture. Stumbled across this picture of me from late 2013. Like, dang, I remember. I remember this time frame. I was young. I was only 20. My organ functions had not started declining yet. And this was the 2010s. Life was awesome. I lived in Fairbanks, Alaska. I had my security desk job that required me to do almost nothing, and I got paid like $17 an hour for it by the end. I didn't start at 17, but I got up to that amount because Alaska actually raises its pay alongside inflation, unlike everywhere else in the US at least. I had my free public transit. I just flashed my ID to step onto. You had your free heating, your free water, no sales tax, some exemptions from some parts of the income tax, even. My nice eternal Arctic darkness. I had like disposable income. You can see from the dye had worn out by that point, but I could afford to like dye my hair back then. I wouldn't actually do it again just because even if I had that money, I would now want to spend that money on other things. But I had like money back then to get my hair dyed and stuff. And I think that's attached to the old one of my old like iPods or something like that. Because this is from 2013. So iPods were still a thing, if any of you guys remember those. Okay. Looks like I'm not getting any response from Nito. So otherwise, thank you everybody who came, who's probably just going to leave now because I'm done talking about stuff. As there's nothing else to commentate on unless chat brings something up. Uh, so I'm just going to play that pinball game and occasionally check chat to see if anybody does bring something up. And then towards the end, I'll talk about some of the writing project related stuff. But If anybody new showed up since then, you can scroll back and watch like the prior 2 hours of the stream. But this is the 500th video on the channel. It's technically not, but just go with it. So it was going to be a 5 hour stream, except any $1 received in super chats would reduce the length by 5 minutes so I don't suffer as much. And we did get one $7.51 one that dropped it down to 4 hours and 23 minutes for the total required runtime. So now, uh, not for the next 2 hours, but for a little bit, I'm going to play a game for I think this is only the third time I've ever done this on stream. I played Minecraft once and I played, what was the other one? Minesweeper. I played Minesweeper on Election Day last year. So let's see if this causes the stream to lag out. Nothing from anybody requiring response then. Let's see. I'm pretty sure this one was the one that did not have bimbos all over the screen. Yes, no bimbos on the side of the screen. Awesome. Okay, I don't know. Uh, do you guys want the audio? I'll go ahead and turn it on, but I'll turn it down, maybe. So yeah, I'll turn it down a bit so it's not like too loud because I don't know how loud it's going to be for you guys. If it is too loud after this game, this first game, then obviously let me know. I don't know if it's correlated to how high I have my volume turned or not, actually. Let's see. Wow, awesome. Right down the center. What? Thank you. Yeah, this actually does not seem to be causing any lag. Double! Darn, I thought we were going to go for a triple. Nope, we're just going for a fail. Oh, well, if it goes down there again, the ramp's closed. Do-do-do-do-do. Nope, yep, there we go. Oh, no, I got a bonus. Here we go. Why does it randomly decide to not impact? What are you doing? Deploy the ball. How long do I have to hold it for? What is going on? Like, what are you doing? There we go. Oh, never mind then. Oh, okay. I don't know how many times it's going to give me like a freebie bonus escape like that. Hold on. Let me see. Okay, it is actually showing. I was worried it might have like a copyright block and just be showing like a black square on the screen. Why are you not launching? I don't understand what's causing this issue. That's the end. Okay. Uh, nothing new. Nothing new. Okay. All right, we're gonna keep going. Then, I mean, if the game is actually like making loud noise, or if it's not making any noise at all, then like someone actually let me know. Uh, X off, I guess. F2 to start new game. That normally dims my screen. Yep, that just dimmed my screen. How do I, was it function F2? Okay, I know what I'm doing. All right, let's try again. Again with this. I don't know what's causing this. I think, do I have to hold it down for like at least 5 seconds or something? I guess so. Nope. All right, let's see. Five, four, three, two, one. No? Is it the number of times? Like, do I have to launch it and it fails a few times? Is it 10 seconds? Come on. All right, let's see. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. Okay, I guess it's like 10 seconds or something. Or let's try 9 next time. Let's see if there is a specific number. Yeah, come on. No, you got to get the third one. That makes them change colors. Darn. I remember as a kid when I was so thrilled and fascinated by getting the bumper things to like change colors. For some reason that like just fascinated my child brain. All right, if I'm not hearing anything from anybody, then I'm going to assume that the game volume is okay. Also, we got people showing back up after people left before. If you're just showing up, you can scroll back through the timeline on the stream to like the earlier, important parts, quote unquote. This is the 500th stream, or this is the 500th video, and for that I'm doing a 5-hour stream. Except every $1 in super chats reduces the length of my social suffering by 5 minutes. And we had $7.50 one earlier, so I only have to go until 4 hours and 23 minutes now. But I promise I did talk about stuff for like 2 hours. You can scroll back through that if you missed any of it. So now I'm playing. I'm taking a 1990s better time, better world nostalgia trip by playing pinball, and then I'm going to talk about some different stuff later. But again, if you can't hear the game and or if it's too loud, do let me know. The pad is there to be used. Okay, let's see if it is 10 seconds specifically. Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, Six, sept, huit, neuf. Okay, 9. Then we'll go after 9. So it's somewhere between 5 and 9. Nope, dead center. Ah, okay. Forgot to start the count at a proper time this time. So wait for next one. Ooh, are we going to get a color change? No. Yes! We got the color change. The memories are returning to me after all this time. Almost. Are we going to get the level 2 color change? Do-do-do-do-do. Come on. Ooh, that was close. We got to get the level 2 color change. Oh no, they reverted their colors already. Lame. Oh, we're screwed. Oh, begin our ball. Ein, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht. Okay, looks like 8 is too soon. It is 9 seconds. It is officially 9 seconds. I don't know in the actual game on the computer way back when. There was you didn't have to wait for this. You didn't have to hold it down all this time. I don't know why this resurrected version makes you do that. No. Ein, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun. No. Okay, I guess it's just randomized. Or or I'm probably just counting slightly faster or slightly slower each time. Give it a few. Un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six, sept, huit, neuf. Ein, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, 10, 11, 12. There. You can't defeat the power of counting to 12. Ooh, came too close. You have the color change? Yes, we got the color change. Now we got to get the level 2 color change. Do-do-do-do-do. Ah, Anything from anybody? Okay, let's see. Desktop audio, the audio mixer. Let's unturn it down. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm elevated because you guys had always told me in the past that I was too loud or I was too quiet. $10 from Jacob Bruce something. Well, let me see. Show me the Rousseau. Is that actually French or Belgian, or are you U.S. or Canadian? Thank you. $10. That is 50 minutes off. Okay, so 3 hours and 33 minutes is what I am technically required to stream until. So that's still another hour. Uh, was it F2? Oh yeah, function F2. Actually, I'm gonna let it sit there. I want to see if you specifically have to hold the pin back for 10 seconds or if you just have to wait 10 seconds. But either way, the original version of the game, again, on the computer back in the 90s and the early 2000s, it didn't do that. When you hit the thing, it would just send it. And you could just like tap the space bar and only bump it a little bit, and it would go up a little bit and fall back down. So I don't know why this like I can only call it like a resurrected edition. I don't know why it's doing this. USA, but through Canada from from Quebec or just regular Canada, or I guess what would I call the different parts of Canada? You got Quebec. You have the cool coast in the form of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, and then you have Ontario, which we don't talk about. You got Alberta, where almost all the resources are. You got Yukon, which is basically uh, part of the Arctic Confederation, because those few of us who lived up there, I'm from Alaska, uh, and we had people from Yukon and Northwest Territories that would come over all the time. Kind of viewed each other as more connected with each other than we were with the countries that we are supposedly a part of. And then Vancouver, yeah, Vancouver's its own thing. Vancouver's pretty cool. And then you have, you guys don't call them the plains, you call them the prairies, I think. Or okay, Ontario has Niagara Falls. I'll give it that, but that's not enough to that's not enough to get it off the hook completely. Come on, hyper speed. I want to get to the level 2 color change. Whoa, 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 whoa. Get the level 2 color change. Okay, well, we got a level 1 color change in the small ones. Now in the big ones. Now let's go for a level 2. Man, it hit the 3 again too soon to actually do the next level color change. Okay. Rescued it at the last second. Ooh. Down here. Come on. Don't let them reset. We got to get that level 2 color change. I have to see it again. It's been so long. Come on. No! No! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. That works. So, wow, that didn't work. So it is probably 10 seconds. That would make more sense than 9. I'm just counting at different speeds, different times. I still don't know why it's doing that. If that would be something they'd have to program in, or if there's something that's messed up. Oh, fun fact, quote unquote. When the guy, the guy or guys who were first coding this game back in 1995, when they first finished it, it messed up, and they found the reason that they messed it up was because in the programming where they like told it how many frames to run at, uh, when they told it how many frames to run at, they accidentally set it to run at 5,000 frames per second. And in terms of practicality, especially at the time, that there was no computer or screen that could handle such a thing. So that's why it was. Well, I'm dead. Oh no, I'm not. That's why it was constantly messing up when they were first testing it, because somehow I don't know how they would accidentally type in 5,000 into like the FPS thing or whatever, but they accidentally programmed it to run at 5,000 frames per second. Okay, come on. I'm waiting the 10 seconds. Don't try to gaslight me and tell me I'm not. 2, 1, go. Okay. Oh, there we go. Wait, again? I also have never understood the rules as to what determines when it gives me like another bonus life or whatever. I just want to get to the level 2 color change though. I think because the first one switches to green, the level 1 changes to green, and then I think the level 2 is to red, and then the level 3 is to yellow. And I don't remember if there was a color change after that because I never got that far because I was just a kid and I sucked at the game. Granted, I suck at the game now, but still. Ooh, you're gonna get it for... No, it's dodging the middle one. Wait, they have a time limit too? The top ones reset. They normally only reset when you die. I really want that level 2 color change. Come on. Not enough. Nope. 4,255,000. I found out pinball is actually, at least in a recognizable form, not with as fancy of stuff as you saw once we hit like the 70s and the 80s. But pinball has been around longer than I thought in the recognizable variant. Because I was looking up different stuff for like the 1910s and 20s as related to the screenplay writing project I was alluding to, and I found out because I was looking to see like did some form of pinball exist back then? Because I doubted it. I assumed it was probably created in like the 60s or the 50s, but it did come about earlier than I initially thought. Apparently, what we recognize as a pinball machine, just with less fancy lights and colors and sound effects, was actually first brought about in either the I think it was the mid 1930s, which was like 2 or 3 decades earlier than I thought. Began anybody else knew? Oh, way back then. I thought you meant like you were from Canada and you yourself had immigrated to the U.S. like in your lifetime. I didn't know you were talking about like that far back. I mean, on that basis, uh, I am I'm technically I'm technically uh I'm technically German, like 50%, like solid 50% German from my mother's side because back in those days in the early 1900s and 1800s, the immigrants, European immigrants included, would like even when their children were born here, they would only let their children marry the children of other immigrants from the same nation. So that was continued up through my grandmother. Yeah, through my grandmother, I believe it was. So I'm 50% German, and then the other half from my dad's side is a split 20, 25 French and 25 South English, I believe. All right, let's try this again. Again, if anybody just showed up, you can scroll back, go on the little timeline thing, and go back earlier in the stream for actual important stuff. This is the 500th video, not technically, but just roll with it on the channel. So I'm doing a 5-hour stream, except every $1 in super chats reduces my suffering by 5 minutes. And praise God, I've actually gotten enough to reduce it by over an hour now. So technically, I only have to stream until 3 hours and 33 minutes now. If I'm in the middle of something at that point, then I'll probably complete that something. Ooh, we got the color change. Can we get the level 2 color change? Oh no, we got the stun lock. We got a stun lock. The game stun locked itself. Oh darn, stun lock's over. I didn't know the color change also has a time limit. I want the level 2 color change. Come on, don't let the timer run out. I need that color change. I need to see it. It's been so long. Or I need to experience it myself. Darn, they reset. I need to experience at least causing it myself again. Is the I'll check chat once this game is over, but is the audio rebalanced okay between voice and the game? I usually don't have to worry about like desktop audio because I'm not a game streamer. That's normally Josh's job. He's the pro gamer. Oh, there we go. Josh is the pro gamer. I'm the uh, data compilation person. Come on. Ready, set, and that should be long enough. Apparently not. Ein, zwei, drei, vier, fünf, sechs, sieben, acht, neun, zehn, 11, 12, 13. Wow. Epic fail. Was it past 10 in French? As it goes, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, fans. And then, what was it? I think there's a specific word for 16, but after that it becomes 17, 18, 19. Come on. And I'm waiting through your mandatory waiting period. All right, I don't know what its problem is. Oh, funny story. So, you guys, you normally hear horror tales about people like receiving threatening letters and everything from the IRS and finding out that they owe like some obscene amount of money somehow. Wow, this is busted. Well, I got a threatening letter, an ominous threatening letter from the IRS. Uh, except in my case, it was hysterical to like read that IRS language and then have it followed up with the amount I owed revealed to be like $28. Like, guys, I don't think that this number is like worthy of the language you're using in this letter. Oh no, go center. I need to get the level 1 color change so I can get the level 2 color change. Almost. Nope. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, or 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, Cats. Here we go. Oh, and we're dead. Or I'm dead. Let's see. Nothing else. Well, everybody's gone anyways, so definitely not going to be anything else. Or anything from anybody else. Unless Josh shows up. I did tell him that I was streaming. So I'm assuming he's just dead. At least the last time I asked him whether or not he was alive, he just sent me some GIF image looped on a image loop of like a raccoon in sitting on like a raccoon sized couch, like just picking like snacks out of like a chip bag or something. Ugh. How far in are we? 2 hours and 56 minutes. All right. Uh, let's see. Yeah, I'll probably do one more round of this. Then I'm gonna see if I can find any other decent old ones. Then I might talk about some secret stuff, but it has proved to fall far outside of the interest of the normal channel viewership. So I might not keep my secret projects completely secret. And we wait for the timer. Nope. Actually, something else happened recently that I thought I was going to bring up. I don't remember if it was something that would qualify as like funny story, like the threatening IRS letter would. There. Wow. Okay, I didn't even have to hold it at all that time. I have no idea how this thing is operating anymore. All right, level 1 color change on the small ones. I mean, I'll take what I can get. If we can get the level 2 color change even on the small ones, that'll be enough. But we can't let them run out on the time limit. And if I die, also that ruins it. Oop. That's lost. Never mind. I've only been getting to like 500,000. How did we get to 4 million that one time? What did I do that actually got that high? Come on, we can do it. Yes, level 1 color change. Now let's get the level 2. Oh, you got to go through the others so I can get the level 2. Come on, can't let the time limit run out. I need the level 2 color change. Restore my childhood. Oh, you already went through that one. Just one more. Just one more. We need just that center one. Go through the center. No, not the side, the center. Yes! The level 2 color change! It's yellow. I thought it was red. I guess red is the level 3. Okay, yellow is the level 2 color change. Can we actually make it to the level 3? I doubt it. Especially if I keep sending it up that one ramp. Nope. We got the level 2 color change. I am very, very happy. All right, there apparently is no actual timer on it. I have no idea what the issue is with whether or not the pin launches the pinball. Nope, we're dead. Anything else from anybody else? No. Both are still synced. Oh, everybody's gone. All right. Well, to anybody who's watching the recording, I am still here, as you can see, even if the audience is actually gone. So I'm not violating my rules. I am required after adjusted time from the very generous donations. May God bless the lives of these people. I am still required to go until 3 hours and 33 minutes, which I absolutely am going to do. Okay. As every dollar reduces the time by 5 minutes. As I was being merciful to myself with that rule. Let's see. Are there any other old games I could look up? Okay, well, I'm just gonna look up local weather because I don't want to look at uh, Mike Johnson, the Senate or the House Speaker or whatever. Politicians are all psychopaths and basically just demons. And also, that guy stole my name. You are greatly disgracing the average name of Michael Johnson. Let's see. What else is from the old days I could try, other than talking about the writing project stuff? What else is there that I used to play long, long ago, like simple computer games? Uh, did they ever restore the original version of Typer Shark? Like the old school original. That's the deluxe. Not interested in the. Why is it always the deluxe? I don't care about your stupid deluxe or your rip-off game. Your, I don't know, Timu Factory ordered from Wish rip-off equivalent. Hyping Racer. Come on, people. Ugh. Why is everything the deluxe? I don't want your stupid deluxe. Everybody hated the deluxe for a reason. Why can't I play the original? Stop. I specified the original. Why are you still putting the deluxe in front of me? Okay, I guess there is no non-deluxe version that still exists. Oh, you have to download it anyways. Okay. Uh, Zero trust. Unless, hold on. Yeah, I'd rather test some of these sites off stream and probably using one of my older laptops just in case. All right, so yeah, I can't get the version I want. I'm not a very big Pac-Man person. I did enjoy Galaga, kind of, but all the online versions I found of it are so glitchy and laggy that like you're basically just screwed. You can't really win in any way. Is there any other older-ish and/or arcade games that at least ones that I used to play that I can get a hold of? Uh, can't really think of any aside from pinball. But I've been doing pinball for an hour. Actually, hold on. Yeah, well, let's just look at old computer games. So they have uh oh, that Star Wars game. I remember that Star Wars game. The Secret of Monkey Island. Okay, that is some Josh stuff to play right there. That's video games. Oh no, never mind. It looks like some pirate stuff. Never mind. I thought it actually had to do with monkeys. Why would you call a game Monkey Island if it doesn't have anything to do with monkeys? All right. Well, oh, wait, this has a bunch of stuff just on the side. Let's see. Because this site has been trustable. What do you have here? Bomberman. Okay, I remember I had a Game Boy Color Bomberman game. I could never get past the second act though. Bon Bon. Okay. Centipede. Uh Seen it. I was just never into it. Cyborg Girl. Okay, I guess there were hoes in every generation. It was probably inescapable. Fire and Forget. Okay, wow, that is some real basic racing right there. Gender Wars? It that's not an old that's not supposed to be an old game. That's Tumblr during the mid 2010s. Yeah, I don't recognize most of these. Then again, a fair number of them seem to be from before even my childhood times. Paku Paku? That's that's Pac-Man. Except I don't know. I guess you redesigned him just enough to escape the copyright. Return of the Mutant Space Bats of Doom. Right, some of these are genuinely fascinating. I think most of these actually seem to be most of these kind of almost seem like they're when they said arcade, I guess they meant like arcade games, but had a converted desktop version or something. I thought they just meant like the style. Economic games, educational games, card games, board games, beat 'em up, arcade, adventure, action, 3D action, 3DFX, 4X. What does 4X mean? Does that mean like exploration? Compilation? All right, that literally is just compilation. Puzzle, real-time strategy, RPG, simulator, space. Buzz Aldrin's Race into Space, Space Simulator, first-person shooter, full motion video. Oh, no, that's just creepy mustache, creepy mustache dudes. Management, Crisis in the Kremlin. Oh, the old sim games. Oh, yeah, I actually remember playing the old sim like city builder games back in like third and fourth grade. Because one of the teachers, what was it? I forgot what class it was, but like she would teach us like stuff, and like it wouldn't take that long, and she didn't like believe in busy work. She didn't want to just like make us do like worksheets for no reason. So she would just like straight up let us play games for like the rest of the class. Oh, buy individual windows. Well, only a few. Windows 98, Raptor, 7 Years War, Youth Tower, compilation, Dungeon Crawler, Anvil of Dawn, City Beneath the Surface. Wow, look at that depiction of a wolf. Awesome, awesome goblin guys. Windows 95. Age of Empires was around back then. Diablo, you just have it to run on your site. I really would think Blizzard would not let you get away with that. That, no, that's not what I thought it was. Subculture, Sub Rebellion. I wonder. No, Sub Rebellion was PS2. Oh, when was it? Was it 2000, 2001? I wonder if there's an emulator for Sub Rebellion. Oh, I would love to be able to play Sub Rebellion again. Puzzle games, Baltris, every possible like iteration of a Tetris ripoff you can have. Wow. They couldn't get I guess they couldn't get the rights to even call it Rubik's Cube, so they have a game they just called Cube. Hmm. I probably should look at chat. Uh, I mean, if you're late, you can scroll back along the timeline. And the first 2 hours were me actually speaking about stuff like I'm supposed to do. But once we ran out of things, then I started just playing games like I said I was going to. And I was eventually going to like reveal writing project details. But I suspected no one would be here, which is basically true. So now I'm not going to do that. But this is the 500th video on the channel, not technically, but I was going to do a 5 hour stream potentially, unless people super chatted, which two very generous people did. So for every $1, length goes down by 5 minutes, and that reduced the required time I have to be on stream to 3 hours and 33 minutes. So I can technically get off in like 20 minutes, but I can also stay on longer than that. I'm probably going to get off though. Uh, oh, wow. There was just a hoe in the middle. I wonder. Hold on. Let me just randomly look it up on its own. Sub Rebellion. Okay. So game reviews, game footage, game facts, selling the disc. And I wonder if there's an emulator so I could play it. Is this just an info site? Oh, buy on eBay. Yeah, okay. You see that this is a fascinating scam. So they put this scam ad up on like game sites with access to like obscure games or old games, and right under where the prices and stuff are, revealing that you can only get a physical copy. They'll put these here, these like download, install free, and you click on that, and it takes you either a download malware or it takes you to some like uh, Highland chicks like nude slut website that then installs malware. Uh, War games. What did it have in here? Nah. A lot of these other ones have too many to scroll through. What do you mean by economic games? Okay, a lot of these are the same things that were in other areas. Platformers, maybe. Rampage. Oh no, Alien Rampage. Never mind, that's not the same thing. I thought it was the actual game Rampage where you like play as big monsters and you jump on top of buildings and you literally punch the building like from the top down. Entity. Remember back in the days, like something like that would be terrifying. Uh, no, no, nothing I recognize, and or nothing that's like worth it. See if I can find it. Game Boy Color Games emulator. So I found one for the old Tomb Raider game before, but I want to see if I can get some of the other old games. Like what were some of the other ones? Some of the other Game Boy games I had Turok 3, I think. It's like it was called like Shadow of Oblivion or something. Game Boy Color games emulator. Same Boy. This person recommends Same Boy. Okay, let's try Same Boy. Okay, that's for the version. What games do you have on it though? What what games are available? These are just versions. Uh, what other games did I used to have that I would want to try again though? I can't properly think. I could reach. No, I can't reach that far. I was gonna say my old bag with all my like 30-year-olds, or sorry, 25-year-old probably. Like my parents started getting me stuff in around when I was 5. So like, or now technically that would be 27-year-old. Because I'm 32. So all my 27-year-old Game Boy Color games. I know, let's see, I had Mario, Pokemon Yellow, Tomb Raider, Turok Shadow of Oblivion, The Mummy Returns, Bomberman. I don't remember which Bomberman though. Apparently there's like a million of them. And which I feel like I had a few others, but I'm not recalling what they were exactly. I thought Mega Man for a second, but I remember no, that was a PS1 game, though technically I played it on a PS2. Uh, we are 9 minutes away from the time limit. If anybody's just showing up, you can just scroll back because it's readily accessible. You can go back along the timeline to any earlier part of the stream when I was actually doing stuff you'd want to be around for. This was going to be 5 hours if there were no super chat donations, but there were, and thus the length got reduced by the described amount. So now I'm only required to be here until 3 hours and 33 minutes. Actually, Might be easier to just do this. I might see them if I scroll through them. Rankings. I don't want your rankings. Let's see. I'm just saying 1940 action, blah, blah, blah. We really, there was really a Smurfs game. Who would willingly play this? Let's see. Animorphs. I did have an Animorphs computer game. It was, given the age demographic that Animorphs was aimed at, their games were way too complex uh, for uh, for the literal children that the game was intended for. There was an Austin Powers game on Game Boy. Those movies are not for. Never mind. Bakugan. Oh no, Beyblade. I remember Beyblade. As Yu-Gi-Oh was like a really simplified version of Magic, and then Bakugan was like super simplified Yu-Gi-Oh. And then if you couldn't handle even Bakugan, then you would just play Beyblade. Blade, as in like the character, that movie, that's not for. Why was this on Game Boy? Bomberman Quest? Was that the Bomberman I had? Bomberman Selection, Bomberman Red Challenger, Bomberman Blue Champion. Let me check these. Was either one of these it? I know it was a. I know it was on the Game Boy Color. I don't. I don't remember the specific name though. Here, let's try Quest. Bomberman, or was there just a simple game called Bomberman? Bomberman GB. Okay, now go back out here. Oh, so there's three different GB ones then also. Okay, I have no idea how I'm gonna. Okay, it did not look like that. Uh, I think it looked similar to that, except it had colors. Definitely didn't look like that though. That is not what the cover looked like. It didn't. He was not doing some Indiana Jones posing. I don't think it was that one either. No, there were no Pokemon houses. Okay, that looks more like it. This is horrifically in bad resolution, though. Yeah, because it was in blocked levels like this, and you had to do specific pathways and everything. It wasn't open like the levels weren't open like this. I don't think I'm gonna be able to find it, at least not that fast. Buzz Lightyear. There was a good PS1 Buzz Lightyear game. Card Captors. I remember Card Captors. Coming home to watch that after school in second, third, fourth grade. back on Kids WB in the afternoon when that was a thing. Better, much, much, much better era. Bricks, Croc, and Croc 2. How? Come on, how do you do Dance Dance Revolution on a Game Boy? That's not even the same thing at that point. Apologies. I had to turn away to sneeze. See if I recognize anything else. Because I know I had a few other games, but I don't remember them anymore. Dragon Warrior, Dragon's Lair, Drop Zone. How do you make a game out of ET? F1, FIFA, The Fish Files, Gex, Enter the Gecko. Oh yeah, there was a Gojira game on the Game Boy, except it wasn't Gojira. It was the stupid American one, the Zilla big lizard one that attacked New York in the 1998 movie. How? How was there Grand Theft Auto on a Game Boy? Of time, Harry Harry Potter. I don't remember that being on. No, wait, I do. I didn't. I didn't have that, but I do remember it existing. I don't. A lot of this is either sports stuff or I don't recognize it, or it was really early Weeb anime games. Kirby. I was never that into Kirby. Kirby's fun in the Smash Bros. Games, purely because of the suck and cuck method. Because Kirby has an ability like they can do the vacuum inhale and suck up one opponent, and like it removes the opponent from play for like a few seconds, but players would do that, suck up one opponent, and then just jump off the edge of the map and kill themselves, thus killing the opponent with them. So that was called the suck and cuck technique. Wow, this whatever that series was had a lot of incarnations. We got to run across some stuff that I recognize. Some of the other things I had. The Mummy Returns. I already remembered those, but now we're seeing things that I did have. And when we get to the T's, we'll know if they're like excluding a bunch of stuff if I don't see Turok and Tomb Raider. So this will probably be the last bit for the stream since we're at the adjusted time limit. Rampage, yeah, I guess Rampage could work on the Game Boy. Resident Evil on the Game Boy, that's another thing that's just not. There's no way that works. Scooby Doo, no, no. The Scooby Doo game I remember was PS1. I remember I was never able to beat the final boss. Did yes, yes, I did. I did have that was it. Pod racing. That was one of the other ones. I had Star Wars Pod Racer on Game Boy. It was even for like even for like a child's game. You would assume children would be entertained by everything. Even as a kid, that game was kind of cringe. There it is, the Mario game. Come on, reveal to me what else I have forgotten. Okay, guys, really, the Game Boy was at the time, we're grown now, and we, me included, still use it when it functions. But guys, the Game Boy was predominantly played by children at the time. Why did you make a golfing game for the Game Boy? Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider Curse of the Sword. That was the second one. I had the first one. Was it Toy? No, it wasn't Toy Story. Turok, Rage Wars, Seeds of Evil. There it is. Yep, and there's the cover. Turok 3, Shadow of Oblivion. There were still a few others. I know I had a few others, but I haven't seen any titles that have jumped out at me. No Yu-Gi-Oh games. I definitely didn't have Nintendo Power Cartridge Peripheral, whatever that's supposed to mean. I'm gonna check out some emulators. I did find an emulator for Tomb Raider once. I mean, the only reason I would use emulators is to be able to actually uh, play stuff on a stream at some point. Because obviously I can't stream my actual Game Boy, even though I still have it and it still works, even 27 years later. I'm dead shocked that because after this much time, the exposed silver on the little tiny circuit boards in there really should have corroded enough at this point to where it should have stopped functioning. But it still works. Somehow it still works. I don't know if maybe it's just like airtight sealed in there too good for it to be able to actually like corrode. I don't know if the air, like the little air inside of it, has been like the same exact air for like 27 years since it came out of the factory and was stamped together. I'm gonna try looking at some emulators, ones that don't require me to download them, obviously, and so I can potentially maybe play some old Game Boy games on stream the next time I do a really long stream and run out of stuff. Chat revenue 1913. Was there another? Was there another super chat? I don't see one. It showed up in here from Clayton, uh, somebody, but it's not showing up here. Okay. Sorry, Clayton, that it's not showing up, but anyways, that would have dropped the time I need to quit by down to 3 hours and 23 minutes. We're at 3:40, so I'm going to be ending here soon. Pokemon Emerald, yes, that was absolutely the best Pokemon. There is no if and or buts about that. I still have that. I still have the Nintendo DS that I played it on. And yeah, it looks like it just okay, live chat. Oh, I guess I just had to refresh it then. I don't know why it stopped like that. All right. That is where I'm gonna close things out then. I will reveal writing project related details another time probably. So thank you absolutely everybody who sent super chat stuff and rescued me from actually having to go for an entire 5 hours and gave me supplemental income a little bit. It's not like we're about to like go out on the street or anything. I think my dad didn't tell me anything specifically, but while he's not being paid, while the government is shut down, I think he has enough on him in like savings for us to go for like 4 months. Uh, Initially, I thought it would probably only be like two, but apparently it's longer than that. So unless the shutdown goes on for 4 months, we shouldn't actually be in trouble, but on more just in a carefully treading water position for the moment, or acting as if the water that you're treading is composed of fragile eggshells volumetrically. But thank you, everybody, and I will see everybody around.